Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
In this episode of the One Gang Worldwide podcast, we venture into the high-speed world of Moto3 racing with Marc Vidal Botella, the motorsport data engineer behind the Tech3 Moto3 World Championship team. Marc's expertise in analyzing data from over 200 sensors per bike plays a pivotal role in fine-tuning both rider and machine, transforming raw data into race-winning strategies. Discover the unseen technological battles waged behind the scenes that propel teams to championship victories, right here on the One Gang podcast.
But in Spanish and World Championship and European Championships, I've seen quite kind of horrible things here. Trying to sneak into boxes, trying to sabotage, trying to steal data. Yeah. World Championship seems more serious.
Cleaner.
What's up, One Gang? I used to think that if I spent big money on riding gear with a logo on the back, I was getting top quality. I gave Leather Up a shot. I wasn't sure at first, could I really get quality gear without spending a fortune? But after putting tens of thousands of miles on their jackets and vests, I had my answer. No busted zippers, no loose stitching, just solid, well-made gear that lasts. Leather Up carries trusted brands like Milwaukee Leather, Hot Leathers, and more, with gear for every rider and every budget. Plus, their customer service actually cares and picks up the phone, something rare these days. So do yourself a favor, check out leatherup.com. Whether you need jackets, vests, chaps, boots, helmets, or luggage, they've got you covered. And because you're part of the One Gang Worldwide family, use code CW20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Stop overpaying, gear up with Leather Up, and see the difference yourself. One Gang Worldwide podcast, brought to you by Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping. Since 1978, Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping has been the trusted name in transporting motorcycles safely across the country. With custom-designed pallets and air ride trailers, your bike is secure and protected every step of the way. By choosing Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping, you're supporting a dedicated small business that prioritizes quality and customer satisfaction. Ship with a peace of mind, knowing your motorcycle is in expert hands. Visit keyboardmotorcycleshipping.com for more information. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
What's up, One Gang? We got a great show for you today. We got Marc Botella, who's a motorsport data engineer for a World Championship team out in Spain. So, Marc, thank you so much for joining the show. And we're excited to get some different types of information on this podcast regarding this type of work that you do. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Marc. So let's start in the early days. Where'd you grow up? What was it like? And do you remember, what are your earliest memories of your interest in motorsports?
Well, I'm Spanish and I grew up in Valencia. And what I do remember, because my dad was a really big fan of motorbikes, specifically, also Formula One, but specifically motorbikes. And I actually don't remember when I started watching them on TV with him, but I remember my first time going to the track to see them, because Valencia by those days was already the last race of the season. So I remember being quite young and going with him to see the last race of the season.
Nice.
Cool.
And I just remember the adrenaline inside me the first time I saw it. And from that first time till I started working in the World Championship, I went to it every single year with my dad. So yeah, it all started like this.
What did you?
Awesome.
Did he put you on the back of the bike when you were young and drive you around, or?
Well, at the beginning, because I was really young, it was with a car. Then we went together with the bike, and then we went each of us separately with one bike.
That's awesome, man. That's got to be
so
a great
cool.
memory.
Yeah.
It is.
So going to the races, would you consider that what sparked your passion and interest in motorsports, or was there something else like when you first got on a bike, or was there a specific moment, do you think?
For me, there was a specific moment, and it was because I really did like bikes since I started watching, and but I just liked them. No, I didn't feel that maybe that passion for to try to arrive there to work. But I remember one day, it was in Valencia, last GP. I was, I think, I guess around 10, 11 years old. And we got invited to one of the boxes, and I got the opportunity to just go inside of one of them. And my dad was just, I don't know, speaking with people, and there was an engineer there, and he knew I wanted to be an engineer. Just I hadn't decided what kind of engineer,
Right.
but I did like the engineering work. And he spoke with this guy, my dad. He was a data engineer, and he told, well, my child, he likes a lot of engineering. He really likes races. You're an engineer here in the races, right? And he said yes, and he started to speak with both of us. And after
Cool.
that conversation, yeah, I just thought, wow, what a cool job,
Right.
Yeah.
and how great would it be to actually be an engineering here in races. So I do remember that quite quite well. Like
That's
the
cool.
first time I decided to be a race engineer.
That's cool.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that actually takes us to the next question, which is you pursued your master's in industrial engineering. How did those studies prepare you for the career in motorsports?
Yeah, that's a difficult question because it was difficult for me to decide what to study. And so I researched it a bit, and I saw one of the most Formula One engineers, most famous Formula One engineers. He was actually from my city, and he
Nice.
actually studied in my city. He
Cool.
is, I don't know if you know him, he's Tony Cuquerella, and he's very famous because he's a great engineer. And so I saw he had studied in Valencia, so industrial engineering. So I thought, okay, if this guy has studied this and he's in top of Formula One level, I'm going to study this also. So I investigated a bit, and I saw it was a good engineering because it gives you the base for a lot of things. And so I just went for it.
Well, with this specific projects when you were going for your master's, or areas of study that are kind of aligned with the interests of what you were doing?
Actually, no. I mean,
So everything
uh,
was cool. That's
yeah,
fun.
I thought there was gonna be things a little bit, you know, towards the industry, the motorcycle industry, but no, because I don't know in the United States, but here our engineering courses are like quite theoretical, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yep.
They are.
So there's a lot of theory and like quite, in my opinion, too theoretical and quite distant from the real life. So
Gotcha.
we didn't really see many practical cases or anything. So no, actually, I did like what I studied. I think it gave me a very good base. But no, we didn't see anything close to anything that I've done while
Gotcha.
Huh.
working.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after your studies, what was your first step into the industry, and was it a clear path? Did you already have a
Mhm.
clear path after school, or did you bounce around a little bit before landing at Tech 3?
Yeah, my path was to finish university. That's obvious. It was the first thing to do, to learn as much as possible.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a master in Spain, which is, I don't know if it's official or not, but it's a very famous one, and a lot of mechanics and engineers go there because
Cool.
there's two different courses, one for mechanics and one for engineers, and they do learn a lot there. So that was like my first goal after finishing university. I never went. So that was the plan. I never went there because I started my own path in another way, which was because I don't know if you guys have heard Moto Students,
Mhm.
because it is a worldwide competition which
Yeah.
is held between universities worldwide. So there's like each university or universities that want to participate, they participate by producing a bike, a race
Yes.
bike.
Right. Yeah,
Exactly.
we had another guest mention
You're
that.
talking
That's
about
cool.
building it.
Yeah, building it, designing it, and building it. And
Gotcha.
every 2 years, they travel to Spain, to Alcañiz, one of the MotoGP tracks.
Right.
And there's a competition over there, which is not
Nice.
just a race, but much more, like many projects, different things.
Right.
And so
Great.
I found out that my university was doing this again because they used to doing it, but they just quit it and they were starting again. And I heard, and I just said, okay, I was in my last year of university, and
Mhm.
I just thought I have to go into this.
Of
Yes or
course.
Yeah.
yes. Because, my goal was to arrive to MotoGP, but I did have no idea how to. So I thought it was good, no?
A good opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But when I contacted them and I saw that they were just looking for marketing guys, which I have no idea. But didn't matter. I went to the interview. I didn't invent it, but maybe exaggerated quite a lot my skills in marketing because I had none of them. But I just had to go into it. And I was accepted into the team, and I just had to learn a lot of Photoshop those first months
Nice.
because
Yeah.
I had no idea about it.
That's awesome.
But quite fast they changed me and they took me to the chassis part and suspensions because that was my specific passion inside
Nice.
motorbikes and competition. I love those parts, and so I developed a chassis for this project. So everything started then, actually.
Wow, that's cool. So when you developed the chassis for that project, have those chassis continued to? Are you still using the same concept?
Well, it was a project just for this race.
Right.
So it was built. It was the bike was built, and the race was done. And
How did you guys do? How did your team
honestly,
do? Yeah.
because we started designing this like 1.5 years before,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time the competition arrived, I was already working in the European Championship,
Oh,
and I
got it.
couldn't go to the race.
Understand.
So
Understand.
I don't remember because
Oh, it's okay.
I
It's
couldn't
okay.
go. I couldn't go there.
Well, that kind of takes us to the next question: is how did you come to join the Tech3 Moto3 World Championship team?
Specifically the Tech3, because well, after the Spanish Championship, European Championship, etc. My next goal was the World Championship, like it's natural.
Right.
And I contacted many teams, but it's quite difficult if you don't know anybody. And
Mhm.
finally, I started in one of the One Moto3 teams. And 2 years after, in the 2 years after starting working in the World Championship, I heard that the Tech3 Moto3 team was looking for a data engineer.
Nice.
And I just contacted them and had a meeting with a boss in India, I think it was in the India.
Wow. That's crazy. So how did it feel stepping into that competitive and high pressure environment once you did come on board?
Into the Tech3, you mean?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Well, actually, if I'm honest with you, of course, the pressure is there because it's a very big team and important
course.
one. But the pressure is so well distributed that you arrive with certain experience. that everything feels smooth, everything feels really good in that team. I mean, with this, I want to say that I felt more pressured in the team before because it was a small budget team
Got
than
it.
in this team where everything just works.
Did you
Makes
In my
sense.
opinion.
did you have more hands? What were you more involved in the smaller team because it's a small team, so everybody kind of plays more than one role
Mhm.
compared to now in this big team?
No, no, no. I feel it's more or less the same. Just that it's true that here responsibilities are like more specific.
Gotcha.
It's true that in those kind of teams, you end up doing many things,
Of course.
and here you've got a more specific, bit better
Mhm.
job. So
Gotcha.
in one way, yes. In another one, I do get. I'm still quite involved, and because it's a very big team, but the Moto 3 team, it's small. I mean, we're not so many, so we still have to do the job between not so many.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. So for those who aren't familiar, can you explain what a motorsport data engineer does?
Well, it actually depends. It depends on the team. In my opinion, depends on the team and depends on the category. In Moto 3, the category I know, we're in charge of all of the data, analyzing the data, all of the sensors. So, because here it comes, there's a lot of people that focus a lot on the electronic part of sensors and this.
Mhm.
For me, that's not the point. It is important. You need to know about sensors because they need to work. But the most important part is to know about the dynamic part of the bike and mechanical part of the bike so as to understand what you're reading. Because sensors at the end, graphs, because we data engineers, what we do is to just read graphs as fast as possible between sessions to take decisions and between sessions with time, but as detailed as possible. So in my opinion, you need to know about electronics to a certain level because you need to understand those graphs. But the most important part is to understand what you're looking. And this is the physics. You're looking at the physics of the bike.
Right.
You need to know about suspensions. For me, that's the most important part. Need to know about engine, chassis, everything, because you're analyzing all of these sensors put together to read all of these things, these mechanical things.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. So
So yeah, Tom.
what does a typical weekend, race weekend look like, or a test session, from analyzing data to delivering actionable insights? What does a typical race or test session look like for you?
Well, sessions, they're for me, they're just like you try to have, um, how do you say, like a script on
Hmm.
what's the most probable things that are gonna happen. But fun enough, they're never this way because everything
Right. You
just
gotta
happens very
adjust
fast.
on the fly. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's basically during the session. What you do is this. In specifically, my part of the job is to, when the rider stops, it's to download as fast as possible,
Hmm.
hear what he's complaining about, and to just focus into this to try to look for a solution, no? And
Yeah.
just convert this data into a engineering solution in a context,
Action plan.
and
Yeah.
then it's the crew chief who decides the solution.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. How long do
So
you
when I
have?
was, yeah, tell me.
How long do you have to analyze?
That depends, but between sessions, not much, like 3-4 minutes.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, man. I didn't realize you were still talking.
No, no,
That's
don't worry.
crazy. Jeez.
So how
Yeah,
how
you have to be very
closely
fast.
how
Yeah.
closely do you work with the riders? Give us an example of how your data analysis directly impacts the bike setup, the race strategy, things like that. Can you get into a little bit of that? Like, is that something that you and the rider are talking about, or is it basically you as a team that break this thing down and get it right?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question because it is very delicate because we engineers, we are, because we are two engineers, that's the crew chief and it's me. We work together during all the day. Then we've got the rider, which is the most important input, obviously. He's the one that has to do the difficult job.
Yeah.
But we've got other engineers also. We've got the KTM engineer in my case, because it's a KTM bike. That's the electronics and engineer and engine. We've got the suspension engineering. We've got the tire engineer. So there's quite a lot of engineers around and a lot of decisions to take place to take. So as to how much we involve the rider in these decisions,
Right.
that really depends on the strategy of the crew chief, of the data. In our case, the one I'm working in this moment, we try to involve him just to a certain point, because too much information is not good. Too less is not good, because we need to trust between each other.
Right.
So we do work quite a lot. We do work quite a lot with him. We do check data after every session, but it really depends a lot on the moments. There's moments where you have to rely more on the data. There's moments where the rider has to rely more on other things, more on psychology, for example. So it does depend a lot on the moment. It's something very, very flexible. So you have to be very flexible with these.
Gotcha.
That's wild. So in a sport where milliseconds matter, how does the data that you collect translate into competitive advantages?
Well, data is very important. It's just one part of the big puzzle, because there's a lot of different data also we use. The one that we use with the rider, for example, that will be a fast lap compared with another fast lap of another rider. Usually it's data from other years, or it's the data from your teammate. So we do analyze very specifically what the other rider is doing compared to your rider to understand what is better. So you use the other data to understand this is better. You also use it to understand what is better from you. What is your rider doing better? And so you try to put all of this together. You try to for the rider to understand it. So he puts it together on the track. For example, that's very, very easy example would be, you arrive into a corner and your rider is switching to the next gear for, I don't know, 0.3 seconds, but the other rider is just hitting limiter. So you've got ways, because you use time, you've got ways to understand what is faster, what is those milliseconds you're working so hard for. Where are they? For example, here, like you see that actually hitting limiter is faster than switching up to another gear to have to take down one more gear. So these are the kind of things for example, that's just one example we look for.
So are there any other specific metrics or patterns that you look for to optimize performance, or maybe that come up quite frequently?
Yes, there's a lot of them. For sure. Just to give you an example, in both of us engineers' computers, we've got many screens. All of these screens are meant to focus in one certain area. For example, engine, suspensions, rider, etc. And each of them are meant to look into these parts, and each of them, they've got the strategies and problems, typical problems, etc. No, you've got suspension wise, you've got chat. For example, tire wise, you've got temperature, pressure, performance, sleep, electronics. You've got also the sleep, the performance of the engine. Rider, you've got what he can do to make it better, or what is he doing good.
That's got to be a fun conversation. You're not doing it right, right? Lean more. Whatever. So
basically it's that, yes.
Is one more follow up to that, and I'm curious, what is it like between teams? So, is there any information that's shared between teams, or is it like a brick wall? Do you have to post your data publicly for the other teams? And if not,
No.
have you no? Okay, have you ever had any issues like catching somebody trying to peek in and see what's going on? Any kind of
Right.
like spying or cheating
Sign stealing.
scenarios? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Have you ever
Well,
noticed
we
anything like that?
we don't keep data is very private
Cool.
and
Good.
it's like sacred, obviously,
Yeah,
because
of course.
it gives you so much information.
Mhm.
I cannot think of anything that gives you more information than data. And no, we keep it secret, but it's true that we have to give it each after each session to KTM. In our case, it's our manufacturer,
Uh-huh.
and they've got the data of every team just for statistics, just for because they need these statistics
Feedback.
in order to
Right.
continue
course.
developing. Yeah, exactly, feedback, etc.
Uh-huh.
But no, for sure, you don't see data from other teams. I mean, you do trust that your data is not being given
Right.
to other teams.
Right.
This
Right.
works this way.
Yeah.
So no, data is very secret. It's only shared between inside the team. I mean, I can see the data from the other rider from the other side of the team. The other side of the team can see our data. That for sure.
Okay.
But not between teams, no.
That's
Okay.
cool.
And you were asking if, yeah, for sure, there's a lot. I don't know so much in the World Championship. For sure, there would be
Yeah.
I mean, histories, and, but in Spanish and World Championship and European Championships, I've seen quite
That's
kind of horrible things here. Trying
yeah.
to sneak into boxes, trying to sabotage, trying to
Wow.
steal data.
That's
World
Dang.
Championship seems more serious in
Cleaner.
this.
Yeah.
This way.
yeah. That's crazy.
wild.
Cleaner.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The other player trying to sneak into the huddle on the other side. That's
Mark,
wild. Man.
Mark, you took us into what your day in the life is. What I want to kind of hit on is some of the challenges in your role. My question is what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a data engineer for a race team like that? And are there moments when the data conflicts with the rider's feedback, his intuition? Like, how is things like that resolved between your team? Like, take us into the challenges of when things aren't going right.
Yeah, well, every weekend things just don't go right. This is motorsport, this is racing, and there's a lot of tense situations and stress situations. In our case, I'm a lot of them with the rider. This is normal. This happens because they're like people that can go very fast, risk their life. So
Yep.
this normally goes together with having a lot of character.
Gotcha.
So,
Of course.
so
Ego, right? Ego.
ego, yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can imagine how many situations we have to face, which we understand in many cases because of
course.
the pressure everybody has, but especially they do. So yeah, but in our case, we try to work in a very transparent way, and in this last year, we were working with Jacob Rolston. He was a rookie, very young, started very good the year, and we got along between us very good with the crew
Nice.
chief. We do have a lot of confidence. Nevertheless, we did have a lot of roller coasters and a lot of stressful moments, for sure. And I'm gonna give you examples.
Thank you.
The most stressful moments are always when the rider believes, which can be or not true, believes is doing something or everything correct,
Yep.
but the bike is not enough. The bike performance is just not enough to be there, no? Because we are talking about very little amount of time.
Of course.
So
Mhm.
every detail does make a very big difference. So when we face these problems, this is something that we face every week, the bike performance is being updated all the time. No? But there's a moment when you have to really analyze and see if the problem is the rider, the bike, or both. But there's moments where you believe it's not so much the bike or not much more we're gonna be able to do, and it's more the rider side. And when this happens, which happens a lot, but in a very bad moment or a stressful moment, that tends to initiate arguments and
conflict, a little conflict within,
a bit of conflict,
but
it's just part of the job.
Of course. Do you find it, the younger riders compared to more of the seasoned riders handle things differently because of inexperience and experience?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. The rookie riders, the first season in the World Championship is very long. It's very tough. We travel around the world in this very stressful atmosphere, and rookie riders normally are very young. And so, for sure, they changed a lot during the year.
I'm sure.
They changed a lot during their second year, and they keep on changing with experience. So yeah, for sure.
How many riders are on the team?
What do you mean around the team?
On your team, how many riders do you have? Like how many are you responsible for?
Okay. No, just one.
We
just work with one rider. Yeah. And it's enough. Wouldn't want to work with two riders.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey guys, the show will be back in 1 minute right after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, One Gang, tired of feeling like your butt's taking more of a beating than your bike on those long rides? Introducing Butt Buffer, the ultimate solution to saddle soreness. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These cushions are made from medical-grade viscoelastic polymer, scientifically crafted to eliminate pressure points and keep your circulation flowing. No more numb nuts or numb butts. And here's the best part. Butt Buffer cushions are made right here in the U.S. for the last 30 years. From Harleys to Hondas, we've got a cushion to fit your ride perfectly. Plus, with styles ranging from sleek pebble polymer to luxurious sheepskin, there's a Butt Buffer for every rider's style. Get your Butt Buffer today at buttbuffer.com. That's buttbuffer.com. Your butt will thank you, and you'll ride longer and happier. We've got your butt covered.
So that leads me into the next question. Those stressful moments, it's such a high pressure, high stakes position that you're in. How do you handle those moments of pressure and conflict? Are you naturally a non-confrontational sort of person? Do you just approach it analytically and you're just like, this is a fact, you're wrong? Like, how do you manage those
or do you go in there and bang some heads when it's
Hit 'em
time to
with a helmet.
bang some heads?
Well, I've heard of everything, but in my case, I'm quite calm. The crew chief I work with is also quite calm.
Nice.
We're more or less the same age, which is awesome.
How old are you, Mark?
I'm 30 years old.
30 years old.
So it's great because both of us are quite calm. Very technical, I would say. There's a lot of different people in the World Championship. In our case, I think we are very technical. We are both like a lot the technical part. We are very calm. And so we try to handle these situations with just non-stress and in this way, never argue. But there's moments where you just cannot avoid this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
You don't have any kids, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, I was curious if you ever have to break out the stern dad voice with the rider.
Yes, you do.
Those are his kids, the riders. He's got to take care of them.
Yeah, being calm has to be, you guys both being calm has to be crucial, I would imagine, because you're able to make decisions. Once everybody gets hot-headed, that's where everything
once
goes
that
sideways.
hot-heading comes, if everybody's on fire, you never put it
You know,
out. So
for me, technical as an engineer, for sure, the technical part is super important. But there's nothing as important as having a relaxed and secure atmosphere for the rider.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
the most, because it's a very, very psychological sport. Very
Yeah.
psychological.
Yeah.
And it changes a lot the performance, the people around the rider, in my opinion.
Yeah. Quick random question, but I'm really curious. When you're looking at your data without the bike actually breaking down, so you still have an operational bike ready to roll into the next session, what is like the nightmare metric scenario? What is the worst thing that you can see coming in from your data as far as a headache to deal with?
Well, more than from the data, it's always on what the rider is saying. I mean, the worst scenario, it's when the rider is complaining a lot and you cannot see any bad
Issues.
performance of the bike,
It's
any
like
issues.
you're complaining, but you're the problem.
Or you're the problem because you're doing something wrong, or maybe not. And this is our level in this moment. So because it can happen, this is your level or our level. I mean, like, because riders expect to be, they expect to win. All of us do. I mean, everybody that works in competition is very competitive.
You're there to win. Right.
Exactly. But there's just moments where you cannot, and you're in the World Championship, the best riders of the world, and you're, I don't know, 15th, which is quite difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's moment where you obviously want more and more and more, and these stressful situations comes, and the worst moment is in the middle of the session when the rider is maybe exploding because he feels he cannot do more, and he needs, because he knows he can do more, or he says so, and you are analyzing and you just don't see what to change, where to go, what strategy to take to change this situation.
Yeah. Or he says so. I like that. How often do you, I don't want this to be an incriminating question, so I'll ask for people in your position, not just you. How often are you guys, and I imagine it's crazy low, but how often are you guys just dumbfounded? Like something's going on with the bike, the data isn't giving you the proper insight, and you're just at a loss for words. Does that ever happen?
No, because we look for other solutions. We speak with other engineers. We do speak a lot with the other side, because we work very much together, especially during the afternoons. We just put in together everything, and they tell us, we've got these problems, we had these problems, we believe this, we believe that. So no, we always try to continue.
Okay, so even
I
in
want
like
to
the
say,
heat of the moment times.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I just want to say that obviously, even though I'm just saying, like, we discuss a lot with the riders, but we do in a very, I think in a very healthy way, because it's part of our job, no?
Of course.
Right.
But it's, I mean, it's not as it may be, we're hearing it. I mean, I want to say, like, yeah, of course we've got issues, of course, but like we all trust together, we all work in the same direction. There's like only small moments during the day, which always happens, but only small moments where we do argue more a bit. But normally we all go towards the same direction together. No, I mean, the rider and the engineers. That's the normal situation.
So high level.
What's the most common mistake for people who may not know in regards to, let's say, from the rider's point of view? Is it more of the braking or the shifting that, because it's a sport of milliseconds, like Ben said.
Yeah.
So the difference between the winners and the losers tend to be the small, tiny little mistakes that they make on certain times. What have you seen in your role that, you talk to your drivers about?
Braking is always, yeah.
I was always interested in that.
I think for them, it's very difficult to understand how much of the performance of braking you need to lose to gain on the exit, which is the important part. It's where you really gain the time. And it's not easy, because everybody will think that braking as hard as possible and as late as possible is faster, but it is to a certain point. But a lot of riders do overpass this limit, and understanding that you have to brake before, less aggressively, or in different ways,
Yep.
so as to perform better on the later part of the exit. It's difficult. No, it's not so immediate. It's difficult. Even analyzing it, even showing it, it's not easy to change. But yeah, for sure, for me, it's the braking part.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you
Okay.
for answering that. I've always been curious about that.
What do you mean by when, like you said, some riders will bypass that braking? What do you mean by bypassing? They'll just push it too far and they'll wait too late and brake too hard, all kind of synchronously?
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay, cool.
at the end, they're riding beast on top of a
Right.
machine. They really are. So, if they can brake harder and more aggressively and like more dangerously, why would they not do it? But
Yeah.
for sure, but arriving to this level, sometimes you need to change a lot of things on the riding, or they have to perform. No, because we're not here to be the most aggressive. We're here to perform, and perform means to go faster. So sometimes the performance is not in what they naturally believe they have to do. It's sometimes even in the opposite, no? Like, for example, braking before.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
How about let's get into a little bit of the breakthrough moments. Share a story about a breakthrough moment where maybe your analysis significantly improved the bike's performance, contributed to a strong result. Can you share a story with us? Those things that maybe you did that helped you guys, helped your team.
Well, actually, we don't have like these big like a film moment,
I understand.
movie moment where everything is wrong, and then I come and say,
And then
no,
you
I've
did
got
say
the
you did
solution.
something.
Exactly.
But
But it's more like the chain of very small decisions, or not so small decisions, that just you see that the bike is performing better and better, no? And you arrive there and there. But for example, I can give you, there was a race where we were quite lost in the braking part, because bike wasn't stable there. And after discussing, after analyzing, we thought, we believed we saw a solution in changing a geometry. It was a quite big geometry change, and we were quite convinced. But we didn't. We were going directly for qualifying for it, which is quite risky. But we had to, because we were in a very stressful moment.
of course.
And we did, and it worked. It worked quite better. That was a very big change. We saw it quite clear on the data, but it was risky because of it was qualifying. It was not the strategy we usually take for qualifying, which is we don't really change that much. But we did this time, and it worked. But as I tell you, we are constantly changing things. Not that we change like this magical thing in the moment.
Right,
No,
right,
because
right.
it's because performance, what happens in competition for me is that every session, the level is being pushed and pushed and pushed. So
Yeah.
even if you change something and it works very good, it gets all after 30 minutes into the session, for sure, you need to change something new to push even more. So there's not like this magical thing that allows you to push everything together. It's just small things.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, why not? Oh, man. So, is there anything that you're ever, well, I guess now you've done it, so you wouldn't be surprised now, but was there anything at any point, an adjustment that you made early on in your career that kind of surprised you with the results that you got?
I can tell you there was a change that surprised me negatively. Like
Oh wow.
Uh-oh.
being an engineer, for me, numbers are very important. So geometrical things and parameters we use in the programs we use to calculate things are very big. No, and I remember once changing in the program something, looking the output of the numbers we use. This output was big, very big, and I thought, wow, it's gonna
be great.
be a big difference. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like really, really convinced it's gonna be a big difference. in the good direction. And we didn't tell the rider because we decided to do like this, because it was clear we couldn't tell. And it wasn't with Tech3, by the way, it was previous.
Prior. Gotcha.
And the rider just didn't feel anything. And I was very disappointed that day.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very big thing, and he didn't feel absolutely anything. He was still complaining a lot, and we asked him like, "But you don't feel anything, even in the braking, even in the turning?" Like we were getting quite specifically to where it should have changed. And no, it's the bike is still a shit. And I was quite disappointed that day. So but I did learn a lot, because you learn that when riders are in the right place, especially psychologically wise, like the bike does make a difference. Bike has to be in the place. Performance relies a lot on the bike. But when riders are lost or they're not in a good moment, you can change whatever you want.
And it doesn't make a difference, right? Of course.
That's wild. So speaking of surprises, how often does it happen where you guys adjust something and it blows the rider's mind? Or maybe that's too drastic, but it's like a surprise.
No.
Whoa, what'd you guys do? Do you ever have those moments?
Yeah, sometimes you do. Especially maybe with tires, when you're trying compounds, pressures, for sure. When you've got new pieces, new parts. But no, it's not, at least not in Moto3, when we try new parts. It's more kind of, these are the advantages, these will be the disadvantages, but never like, wow, this is amazing, I'm just gonna win the race. No, that never happens.
You mentioned tires. That actually makes me think and wonder, what kind of analytics, because that's strictly mechanical, nothing's attached to it. What kind of analytics can you pull from tires and performance without, I guess, in between sessions? Because I'm sure you can assess after the race to see how the handling and everything else is, but are there any specific analytics that you can pull from the tire performance?
Yeah, for sure. At the end, tires are super, super important. They're the only things that are touching the ground. Yeah, for sure. With tires, we rely on many sensors. We rely on the experience of the Pirelli, in our case, engineer. But we also rely on analytics we do to understand the performance during the race, because most of the job we do during the weekend is to prepare the race performance. And tire-wise, this is super important, because you have to choose the compound you're gonna use. So we do have a lot of tools to understand how tires are gonna work and what tires we have to choose for the race. But I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I think so. I'm just curious if like you're looking at acceleration, or something's off and it kind of leans towards maybe it's the tires, or do you just completely rely on the tires being consistent?
Yeah, I can give you an example of one of the graphs we use. Would be, for example, how the rear suspension average, because there's a minimum and a maximum during a lap of suspension movement, and we do an average. This average is really important for us. Doesn't give all of the details, but it's a very fast number to understand more or less what the weight balance of the bike is. And we get these averages lap by lap. We put them together by tire compounds, and we do a graph of how it is going down, because as the tires are being degraded, worn out,
degraded,
degraded, this average tends to decrease.
Gotcha.
And so this, for example, I'm just giving you one of many examples. This is one of the graphs we use to understand how the tire is performing and how it's going down during the laps. And we put it together with the sleep percentage, which we use so much to understand the grip level, which is obviously very tight.
Crucial.
With
Right.
tires.
Yeah, right. That's cool. So, and then one last question. I'm so off script here. Sorry, but I'm really curious. How many sensors are on one of those bikes?
Well,
Plus the rider too.
I've never counted. We do have a lot of sensors, a lot of them. I cannot tell you how many, but
If
a
you
lot
had a
of them.
ballpark, is it 200 or is it like 60?
No, not 200. Yeah, more, maybe 60.
Oh,
60 would be, or even a little bit more, maybe. But
Okay.
these are the sensors. Then we use these sensors to create a lot of channels, many channels. So these are only the first inputs, but we use them to calculate a lot of channels. So at the end, these are the sensors, the channels you work with. These are really hundreds.
right.
But it's,
The relations between the sensors. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But Moto3, it's there's a lot of them, but it's nothing in compared to, for example, MotoGP, where they've got an immense amount of sensors.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I wanted to get into tools and technology really quickly. What, or I guess, do you have any go-to pieces of software or hardware that you think is just crucial for the performance of the job? And with that, how does it help with your efficiency?
Yes, we for example, well, we've got the basic program to analyze the data. With this, you're the one in charge of doing most of the calculate channels, but there's a lot of them already done, and they're important. For me, and then we've got a lot of Excels to calculate gear ratios, cost ratios, tires, suspensions, everything. Because in Moto3, we can play with the different gear options between first and sixth gear. We can play with different primaries. So that's another part of it, which is gear performance. It's crucial, very important. You have to have the correct gear ratio. So that would be one of the many programs we use. But for me, one of the most important ones would be a typical chassis program, like software, which is quite common. And we've got a specific one that we use for our bike, and it's quite complete. We used to understand, because it's super important to understand if you change something in the bike, how it will impact, and what other things you need to adjust so as to leave the same, because you don't want to change them. And this is what our geometry program does, basically, and suspension program.
Gotcha. So for the data visualization, are you using an out-of-the-box solution, or is there any part of the process that has been custom coded?
Most of us, we use the 2D data recording program, which is because when you're at this level, you actually don't really do anything, in the sense that the bike arrives with all the sensors, with all the everything, because it's very well done. So everything is super well done. And then the software is like the same. You've got the software, you do personalize it to your way of work, but it's already done. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
You've got the software, you've got everything. You've got the software tool for the electronics of the bike. Everything is given to you.
Gotcha. Mark, wanted to ask you regarding like weather conditions. Racing conditions obviously change rapidly throughout a race. How do you adapt the data and kind of provide the real-time support, whether it's, let's say, if it starts off sunny and then all of a sudden rain comes and you have to make serious adjustments? How does that work on a race team?
Yeah. Well, this is one of the stressful moments, because especially in countries like, I would say Australia, for example, it's the place where weather changes faster. And so obviously you've got a previous strategy. Everything is already more or less done. like I think suspension, shocks, everything is already prepared. Electronic wise, also you've got your rain maps already prepared. You can play with the strategy. You can put them, because we've got 3 maps. You can put them on map 3, for example, and if it rains, you will just tell the rider to turn map 3. But everything is more or less already done before it starts raining, because you are prepared for it, because you know it's gonna or not rain.
Mark, can I
So
ask you a quick question? Just sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
When you're
no,
talking
no, for
about
sure.
you tell the rider to switch to map 3. So basically each map that's downloaded into the motorcycle and in its brain system will adjust the way it performs depending on the weather condition. Is that what it is?
Well, it's not so much depending on the weather condition, because the software doesn't know this, but it is done for the weather condition. So, for example,
For the weather
in
condition.
this case, I'm the one changing the electronic strategy.
Right.
So I would develop the strategy thinking on the rain condition, and I will put it in map 3. So I would tell the rider, if it rains, there's a electronic strategy thought meant for the rain conditions, which
Gotcha.
is, for example, it's a little bit softer for the engine brake part, especially in the first, second, and third gear, etc. No?
Gotcha. Thank you for
That's
answering
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as somebody deeply embedded in the technical side of racing, do you also mentor younger engineers or collaborate on long-term projects to, get the performance up over time?
What do you mean with the performance up?
So, are you like, is there any kind of mentoring program where you bring other engineers in to learn, or is there anything external outside of Tech3 that you do to kind of bring up the younger generation of engineers?
Well, no, not really. I went once to a school. Well, no, it wasn't a school. I don't know how you say in the United States, but it's here like a school for professionals, which would be school for mechanics, and they were specializing in a competition,
Right.
and so I went there to explain what what working inside a competition box
Cool. Yeah.
could be, no? So I'm always open to these things, because I really do like to share this, because when I started, I was quite lost in this sense. No, I had the objective very clear, but it took me a while to start to know people, to start to understand how
Gotcha.
to get into the world. So if I can, I always try to explain, help as
And
much as
you still being a young guy yourself, so it's you're still learning every day as you go. So
for
that's
sure.
yeah, no
For
doubt.
sure I do. For
So
sure.
let's get into the future, basically the data engineering in the motorsports. This will be like a 2-part question. I'll ask you the first part. Like, where do you see the role of data engineering going for the future of motorsports?
Well, if you look towards the past, you would see that data engineer was not really as it wasn't developed. It wasn't important during this two-stroke area, for example. It was more for a little bit suspension performance, but decisions were taken really with a experience base. No, you wouldn't expect people to really rely on data to
Right.
perform. Now, as years have gone, technology has increased a lot, and more, everything has been relied on data and engineers, and so I think this gives you an idea that if it will continue being so, probably even more and more. And if we speak, for example, about MotoGP level, where there's so many engineers and softwares are so precise, so difficult to manage, I think more and more engineers will probably be needed and are needed. No,
It's a cool job what you do, but Hey, are there any innovations on the horizon you're excited about for your field?
Yes, we started already, but we are continue working with biodegradable. You say in English,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Nailed it.
biodegradable. Yeah.
exactly, a fuel, and I am really curious to see it once because now it's a percentage and it's being increased till it will arrive the 100%. No,
Wow.
I am very curious to know if the performance of the engines will be
Yeah.
the same, it will go down, or because it is it's quite unusual not to
For
think on
sure.
these fields in
Yeah.
competition.
It's incredible.
Right on. What about AI, Mark?
Mhm.
Is there any AI implemented currently? Are there plans to use it in the future? Any regulations, anything going on in that sector?
Yet not for the moment, at least
Nice.
in Moto3 and in the everyday work we do in the track, no? Because just to clarify, as you most people know, there's a lot of engineers that work here, but there's a lot of engineers that work for the manufacturers at home, no, I would say in the base. So I for sure these guys already use data artificial
AI.
intelligence in
Right,
many
right.
ways. I'm referring to the people that work like me in the track only for the race, only for the race performance. At least not in my team, in my category. I know or heard that in MotoGP they already started to use it, but I'm for sure it will go, it will increase, no? Because
Yeah.
it looks like the future in many fields, and being competition for me one of the top fields in technology, for sure it will start soon
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mark, I want to ask you this. This is a little bit off base, but if when you are doing practice trials with a rider, and you guys feel like you got everything dialed in, you've got all the numbers proper, so you know how to set it as far as when the race is happening, things like that. Um, and then the race, let's say the race is the next day, and you're trying to use those same exact numbers and statistics that were successful in the practice rounds. Do they transition, or is it all new stuff once the race starts?
No, no,
Do you
for
know what I'm trying
sure.
to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. You know, it's like a bet, and these numbers work in this. Normally, they are kept.
Right.
If they perform or not, that's another question. But no, no, for sure, all of the work you do, it's you see them. Those numbers you can see during the race, like they are kept because it's normally it's same conditions,
Right.
it's the same track, which is what changes the most. No, no, those
Okay.
you can
Thank you.
rely on the
All
work you
right.
do on the previous
On
days
the
for sure.
previous days. Gotcha. Thank you so much for
Cool.
answering it.
Yeah. So after working so closely with the team and riders, what keeps you passionate about motorsports? Is it the thrill of the race, the camaraderie, the constant pursuit of improvement and perfection?
Yeah, I would say the last, and also the because it's competition, so it's never the same. It's not like
Always changing.
because
Yeah.
yeah, when I was back in university, I did a internship in a manufacturing company.
Hmm.
I was designing pieces, parts, sorry, and it was great. I love designing. I love the engineering that you use for,
Right.
but it was quite repetitive, no? And
Yeah.
I did like a lot it, and I could do it again. But you know, once you start in this world where everything changes so fast, you've got these stress races. You know, races change everything very fast.
Yeah.
It's such a roller coaster that it just makes you want to keep. It's like a drug. For me, it's like
Right.
Yeah.
a drug,
Right.
and we do speak a lot
Dopamine hit.
about this
Right. It's a
in the
high.
team and everything. Yeah, it is a drug.
That's cool.
That's cool.
So
Big fan.
that's what I guess keeps you there. The
Engaged.
drug, the adrenaline in your job. Yeah.
Mark,
Right.
what advice would you give someone interested in your background and somebody that liked what they heard, they felt it could be a passion for them, and what would you do? What would you like to let them know as far as pursuing their dream, going into the engineering part, or chasing what you're doing now?
Well, for sure, taking decisions on your future, it's they're very they're delicate, no? You really have to be convinced of it. I think, especially in motorsports, because I do feel it is quite difficult to get there. It is quite difficult to be able to arrive, in this case, to the World Championship, to work there. So you really have to be convinced that it is what you want. And then if you are, just go for it, because nothing is impossible. Just go for it. Work very, very hard. You do really need to work very hard, and you'll get there.
That's awesome.
Great.
Wanted to ask you one more thing. One is actually two things. One is, where can people find you if they wanted to reach out? What social media platforms are you on? And number two is there anything right now that you're working on that you're kind of excited about? Things that you want to maybe give you the floor as far as if you want to say anything going forward for even the future of your next season upcoming.
Well, regarding social media, I do have one Motorsport Instagram I like to use just to post, daily pictures of
Sure,
our
sure.
life. I'm gonna check, because I have a terrible memory for these things. And I have to check the name, because I've got the personal one, which is the one I use for my personal life.
Right.
And this one,
Cat
because
pictures.
I like to share, this part of
That's cool.
the
That's
job.
cool. And we'll share that in the show notes so people can
Okay.
follow you on that.
Is it the
So it's
Marvibor?
exactly, that's the one I use for the
Awesome.
racing
Okay,
part.
cool. All right, that's great. All right, my man, you ready for the speed round questions?
Yes.
All right. Ben's gonna roll this. We do 2 minutes on the clock, and then no right or wrong answer. Just have fun and answer away.
Okay.
All right, you ready to rock?
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's
If
go.
your bike could talk, what's one thing it would nag you about?
It will argue.
Nag.
It would nag you. It would nag you
What's
like it would give you a hard time.
why do you switch me on and off so often?
All right, that's good.
And this one's kind of customized to you. I'm curious, what's your favorite track?
Oof, that's a difficult one. I love Australia, but my favorite has to be Valencia, because it's where I started to follow motorbikes.
Nice, the OG track. That's so
That's
cool.
right.
How
Oh.
often do you get to go back there?
Well, normally we do one test over there and for the race.
For the
Cool.
race.
All right, sweet. Okay, what is the best motorcycle you've ever owned or ridden?
Ducati 1098S.
Nice.
Ooh,
Great bike.
here's a fun one. If motorcycles didn't exist, what weird hobby would you be known for?
Oof, I love airplanes, so maybe airplane engines, I would say.
Okay. Be doing
Right
data on race planes.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right, what's your guilty but go-to pleasure for an alcoholic beverage? And if you don't drink, what's your go-to snack?
Alcoholic, I would say a good beer pub here in Belgium.
Yeah,
They've got
Yeah.
I
the
was gonna
best
say,
beer
you're
in the
Belgium,
world.
Agreed,
so
agreed.
insane. Yeah, yeah, you're in the mecca for beer.
Yes,
All right,
and I love
what
it.
is? I'm curious for your answer on this one. What's the most underrated piece of gear every new rider should consider?
Uh, yeah, it's difficult question. I would say to listen, to listen to people around.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What about like gear, like like helmet's not a good example, but
Gloves, helmet,
gloves,
boots, like what's
custom
one thing? Yeah.
handlebars or
Okay, okay. I didn't understand the question.
oh, you're good. We got two answers.
Uh, yeah, I would say the suit, probably the suit.
The full
Right
suit,
on.
yeah, in case you fall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, cool. Here's a fun one. If you could get up on stage and sing or jam with one band, who would it be?
Oof, one band. Um, I do like many kind of music, but I like Queen, for example.
Queen.
Queen?
Nice.
Nice.
I do love rock.
Okay. That's a great
Dude,
one.
getting up on stage to do Bohemian Rhapsody would be absolutely incredible.
For
Imagine that.
example.
Everybody knows the words. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, if you could recommend one book or film or documentary to every motorcycle enthusiast, what would it be?
There's a book called MotoGP Technology, which is awesome. One of my favorite.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm writing that down real quick. Awesome. All right, cool. The next one. You wake up with the voice of a cartoon character. Which one do you hope it is?
Oof, cartoon character. Oh, I have to choose a good innocent one.
No, you don't.
Well, I have no idea how you say this, how they're named
Say it in
they're called
Spanish.
in English. Los Pitufos.
Los
There's
Pitufos?
Smurfs maybe?
Smurfs, yeah,
Oh,
Smurfs.
okay.
Yeah, the
right
blue
on.
ones.
Yeah. I never knew Los Pitufos. Usually, like with those cartoons, it's just the same name. That's awesome. Los
That's
Pitufos.
funny.
I can't wait to tell my kids that. All right.
Los
So
Pitufos.
Smurf it is. Okay, so next one, best place you've ever ridden and why?
Ridden truck, I would say Aragon in Spain and Valencia. No, not Valencia, Teruel in Spain. It's an incredible place that nobody knows. I mean,
Oh.
normally tourists don't know. It's incredible, full of mountains, full of roads, and
nice.
riding there is crazy.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
huh?
What's
Wow.
what's the name of it?
It's Teruel is the region, but specifically would be the Maestrazgo.
Got it.
Okay. Cool.
It's incredible.
It's got to be beautiful. It's got to
It
be
is.
beautiful.
All right. What is a common maintenance mistake that even experienced riders sometimes make?
Oh, I would say ego, probably the most.
That's a
Yeah.
great answer. Yeah, that's
It
a
is.
great call. Yeah, that kicks safety out the window.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
smart. Very smart.
Mhm.
If you could time travel, which era would you go to and why?
Oof, I'm quite passionate about history. Actually, I do
Nice.
read a lot.
Nice.
It's
Cool.
my hobby. That takes me
Nice.
out of the stressful races,
Sure.
and I love medieval times. So for
Nice,
sure it would be
nice.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Towards
Yeah.
the
Where
end.
That's cool.
medieval times, where would you go? Spain or England?
Toledo, I
UK?
would say, yeah,
Nice.
it was a great city back then, and it is still now. But for sure, I would love to see it in those
So cool.
times.
That's cool.
Nice. All right, last dinner ever. What would it be?
Where?
Anyway, so you could eat out somewhere. You could just decide what you want to eat at home or whatever.
If it's
Oof,
your last dinner, what would it be?
It's always a Valencian paella for me.
Oh, baby.
Paella, oh
Heck
man,
yeah.
that's nice.
What do
That's
you
nice.
like to get in your paella? Shrimp? What else?
No, I prefer, because we've got different ones.
Yeah.
Well, we're a bit strict with it in Valencia, but well, they do change a lot depending where out of Valencia. I love the traditional one, which is just chicken and vegetables and rice. So
Nice.
that would be the traditional one I love.
Heck yeah. I'm so jealous. My brother just got to have some last week. All right. What's the best prank you've ever pulled on a fellow rider or anybody on your team?
We attached using a lot of tape a rider to a table, and we left it in the
Yes.
middle of the paddock, and we went.
That's awesome,
Nice.
man.
Well
What was it?
played.
Was he being a loudmouth or what?
Yeah, he was screaming, and then we put tape on his mouth,
That's funny.
and we left him there for like 10 minutes in
Yes.
it was
Nice.
the afternoon. It was
Nice,
really fun.
nice.
That's so funny. So, besides the One Gang podcast, what's your other favorite podcast? And if you don't listen to many podcasts, what kind of content do you enjoy?
Well, that's going to be a boring answer for sure, but I love history podcasts. Also,
Nice.
there's a lot of
It's not boring.
motorbike ones, which I do here. There's one where there's a very famous engineer, a Spanish engineer, that speaks about, the he used to work in MotoGP, and he speaks a lot about technology and riders and wow, it's
Cool.
super interesting. I just don't remember the name, but it's in Spanish. I'm not sure if it's because he's a
Okay.
Spanish engineer.
Spanish.
I'm not
Gotcha.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's translated.
Okay. If you find it or remember it, just shoot us a text and we'll add it in the show notes. But hey, man,
Yeah.
you made it through the
Congrats,
speed round.
man. You did it. I know this
Not
was harder than
surprising.
any race you've ever had
Speedster.
to do before. So
It was actually fun. I was worried about the English part because I've been
You nailed it.
on holidays, and I've
okay.
been just speaking Spanish for the last 2 months, so I had to switch
Nice.
the
your
English.
English is outstanding. So that was
Right on.
so
Thank
much
you,
so
Betty
much
Lewis.
fun. Mark, thanks
It
for
was
taking
great.
the time out of your busy schedule coming on our
Yep.
show, man. This is
You're
the first
welcome.
time we've had anybody with your kind of a background to talk about this, so it's been really exciting. I know Ben's been looking forward to it. He's a tech guy, so he was stoked about getting a chance to ask as many questions. So
This podcast
thank you
could
so
have been
much.
4 hours long.
Right.
For sure.
So many questions I was biting my
Technology,
tongue on.
exactly,
Fascinating.
never ends.
So
Cool.
have a awesome 2025.
Thank you.
Not only with your team, but also with health and happiness. And we'll stay in
Thank you.
touch. We'll check back with you maybe at the end of the year, see how the season
For sure.
went, and maybe have you get back on if you get some time.
For sure, I would be glad.
Awesome.
Right on. Thank you so much, Mark. This was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Take
you
care.
for inviting me.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. See ya.